So we are currently in a very pivotal moment for Tesla stock, and we're right at the cusp of a massive move taking place. Now, next week, we also have a plethora of companies reporting earnings, but more notably, we have Tesla reporting after the close. Now, according to FactSet, for this upcoming quarter, right, 12% of the S&P 500 companies that have reported earnings, 83% of them have reported a positive earnings per share surprise. Now, this is actually in sync with what I shared for those that are insiders within Push and Profit Research. In fact, I shared this screenshot over here last week, just a screenshot of a Bloomberg terminal showing economic data, and I said that things are looking pretty positive. In fact, I'll show you a screenshot of what I actually said. I said the latest economic data came in stronger than expected across the board. And I expect that this is likely to be the case as we go through earnings season, simply because what we're seeing is that despite all the chaos going on in the economy, the consumers, right, you and I, are still spending money. And this is, of course, bleeding into corporate profits. And so that's definitely a plus. And that's why in my previous videos, and by the way, I don't delete my videos, you guys can watch them, I've talked about how the market was likely to go into new all-time highs. And if we take a look at the S&P 500, that's exactly where we've been. We've just been climbing up and climbing up and climbing up. Now, I want to go ahead and kind of go more focused on Tesla, as that's of course what we're talking about in today's video. But I want to show you something that's pretty interesting in terms of the earnings and what we've seen previously. See, Tesla stock previously has had bad numbers for their earnings, meaning their earning numbers, the fundamentals were pretty trash, terrible, but the stock ended up being positive, right? And this is why I often share here, both on the public videos on YouTube for you to watch, or even for those that are within, the Push and Profit Research group as insiders. I often say that, look, earnings, you have to have like a nuanced approach, because it's not just about, oh, what are the numbers looking like? There's also the second factor with earnings, which is the forward guidance. And something that we often hear, and I encourage you guys to listen to the earnings report for Tesla, is the, strong confidence and optimism. I mean, like out of every company you've ever heard, every single time we have earnings for Tesla, we have Elon Musk come with a very bold statement, like something along the lines he often says that Tesla is going to be the most valuable company in the world combined, right? With all, I mean, he says something along the lines that is pretty extreme, and that oftentimes, creates this positive impact where people were like, okay, the numbers look bad for another quarter again. But did you hear what Elon said, right? He's very good at marketing and hyping Tesla. And hopefully, right, what we see in the future is that the actions for the company matches the words that he says. Now, am I a bit skeptical myself? Yeah, absolutely, right? We've heard Elon Musk kind of make these promises year after year, and things kind of, they take a lot longer than what he anticipated. And he often jokes about it in his earnings himself. He's like, hey, listen, yeah, I know I said this before, but, things kind of came up, right? Now, I want to go ahead and highlight something pretty interesting in regards to Tesla, and that was this post here by Gary Black. Now, Gary Black is a fund manager who's very popular on X, and he made this poll over here. And in the poll, he said, what's the main reason Tesla stock has significantly underperformed the NASDAQ? Year to date, Tesla is down 21%, and the NASDAQ is at all-time highs, up 10%. Now, what's very interesting is a majority of the people that voted in his poll on X, which is over 8,039 votes, said that it was Elon Musk's political rhetoric. Now, this is pretty interesting because I wonder if Elon Musk didn't delve into politics, right? And I've talked about this before, how we have this very unique, kind of political rhetoric from Elon where he kind of screwed himself over with both the right and the left, right? We're kind of at a point where I hear Democrats saying, look, I have a Tesla, I bought it back when Elon was not crazy, I don't like him anymore. And then I hear also on the right, now this is all anecdotal, but you guys could kind of see this on X, right? On the right, people are like, I don't like Elon, right? I mean, just think about the feud that he has with Trump. I mean, it just goes back and forth. It's still going back and forth, right? They were buddy, and now they're almost like mortal enemies. And so he kind of alienated himself from both spectrums of the political parties. And a lot of people agreed that that's kind of what has been bringing down the sentiment. Now, I think, hey, we have to actually look at the numbers. But hey, look, at the end of the day, whatever it is, I want you to comment down in the comment section down below. What do you think has been leading Tesla to significantly underperform its benchmark, being the Nasdaq, right? I look, I could care less about the political statements and affiliations. I just think the fundamentals have been lacking. But we'll go ahead and kind of talk about things a bit further in this video. By the way, if you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And also, by the way, quick plug, I'm also on X. I've been posting more content on X. So if you're already subscribed to the channel and you want to see more of my personal life, or just things that I post on X, definitely go ahead and check that out. Of course, you don't have to, but if you guys want to hear, I sometimes post different charts that I may not post here on YouTube. So yeah, just a quick plug, just like, subscribe, and check me out on X. Now, I also want to go ahead and talk about something else, and that is the fact that we recently got this headline of Elon Musk kind of mentioning that he's going to be sleeping in his office. Now, the reason I'm laughing is because I've made jokes about this on the channel multiple times in the past, and so if you're an OG watcher of the channel, then you know that I've made jokes saying, look, we're not going to see Tesla stock go to the moon unless we get the old Elon back. And I'm talking about the Elon Musk who's sleeping on the floor of the offices or sleeping on the couch. Unless we get Elon Musk back to just grinding out, sleeping in offices, we're probably not going to have Tesla stock go up. Now, of course, we want mental health and physical health to be for good. I don't want to wish bad on anyone, but it's a bit exciting to, hear the news that, look, we're kind of getting the old Elon, right? The Elon that's just going to sleep on the floor, probably fast all day, drink Diet Coke and, be in office, right? So hopefully that's a positive. Hopefully we get the Elon that's kind of pulling away from, the political rhetoric, although I personally think he's going to triple down. That's just my opinion. But going back to the technicals, I know I kind of skipped over this in the beginning of the video. One thing that I do want to mention is that we're approaching this area of resistance. Now, in the past, this area has been an area of support. And as we know with the principles of polarity, old support, right, tends to become new resistance. And so that $329.65 area looks like it could be a bit of a challenge, a bit of a barrier for Tesla stock to break out. We also see that when we're looking at the volume profile, that's where we see a lot more volume relative to price. And so that's when we tend to see consolidation. And so will we see Tesla stock break out? Very possible if this trend continues of a lot of the companies having strong earnings, and if we have that hype from Elon, which I'm pretty sure we will still see in this upcoming earnings. So regardless of how bad the numbers are, I think that what we have with the Robotaxi event in Austin, we're likely gonna hear Elon or someone else on the earnings call mention, hey, look, what we have from the data of the robo-taxis is allowing us to go to maybe California or maybe Arizona and kind of scale up the mission. And I think a lot of market participants and investors are going to be excited about that for the future quarters and kind of ignore the bad numbers that we got from this quarter. So I'm very positive that we may have that hype. Now, it's not always guaranteed. I forgot what quarter it was, but there was one quarter where we didn't get the hype from Elon. I think it was sometime in 2022. I mean, it was a very sad earnings call. I remember I was back in the condo in downtown Orlando and just hearing this and like, it was so long ago, right? I think Elon Musk has kind of adjusted it back to saying, look, no matter how bad things are, I'm just going to go ahead and hype it up. But we have had in the past where Elon was a bit sad, right? And kind of down and not optimistic, pretty much pessimistic. So if we get that, then that is a big no-no. But if we have earnings that aren't too bad, margins that aren't falling down or getting too compressed, and we have that hype and optimism, we could very well see Tesla stock pushing upwards, although I am not too sure how long it will sustain itself. And also, something that we have to keep on the back of our minds, which I did write for my weekly Market Pulse Insights, which if you haven't done so already, make sure to check out one of the links to get my free weekly Market Pulse Insights, where every single week I talk about what's going on in market. And one of the things I sent out this week for this email, and again, it's completely free to join, so check out that link. I mentioned how, we also have to be mindful of the deadline for the trade negotiations. And to be honest, yeah, we're seeing some more optimism there and some more progress, but we're also not fully seeing much strength there, right? And of course, that's August 1st. And so we could very well see things completely flip, right? We could see everything at all-time highs and then completely kind of come back down. And again, remember, August and September historically have been pretty bad months for the market, right? I mean, I talk about this almost every single September. I even wrote a blog about it one time, the September effect. I'm not gonna go ahead and break down why, right? But there's a few different variables of why we tend to see September being a bad time for the market. But we're approaching that time, and that's where we have tariff, unless it gets kicked down the road with the deadlines, we could very well see something like this, right? Where we see this heat map of that's, just the overall market just falling down. So hopefully not. And if we do, I do think that may be a great opportunity to buy the dips because again, still the economic data is holding up. But that's pretty much what I think about Tesla, right? Overall, the economic data is holding up. If we do see things fall down, it may be a buy to dip opportunity. Full disclosure, I currently don't have a position on Tesla, but if you're interested in what I have positions in, what are my thoughts on the market, every single day the markets are open. There's also an additional link to join the Push and Profit Research Insider Group where I talk about the market every single day it's open. So definitely check that out. But before you guys go, make sure to check out this video right over here, and I'll see you guys on that next video. Take care, guys.